Hello and welcome in. I am MissKinghorn and we are back here in The Sims 4 and we are doing something a little bit different today. So we ended last year, or 2024, with a castle and we are kicking off 2025 with another one. Two very different castles, I have to be honest, and yet both castles. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this build. So some of you may have known I have tried to do save files and I've tried to do world rebuilds and I've tried lots of different ideas, suggestions and things like that in the past. I never really finished them. I'm somebody who gets bored very quickly, and obviously with new packs coming out, older builds never look quite right and they don't really fit, and it just takes so long and I can never kind of get them all done in time. So what I figured for this year, and it's something I would like to probably focus on a little bit more this year, is some mini kind of saves. I would like to do some neighbourhood rebuilds. So they're not quite world rebuilds, but just little neighbourhoods. And then I'm going to probably take a little bit of a break. And then we may come back and do another neighbourhood in that same world. And to kind of break it up a little bit more, I'm actually going to do two of these running side by side. So this one here is kind of going to be a medieval historic kind of one, which is right up my streak. It's something I love to do. I love history. I love kind of old buildings and things like that. So I do kind of want to do a very much inspired by kind of build like that, or world or neighbourhood for that. So I have picked the Bramblewood neighbourhood in Henford-on-Bagley for this part just here. And yeah, it's got 4 lots on it. So we're going to have castles, we are going to have houses, we are going to have other builds. I'm not giving too much away, but maybe some commercial lots, maybe possibly some other kind of builds as well. You will have to sort of see and wait around for those. But then the other one is going to be in Willow Creek. I'm not quite sure which neighbourhood yet. I've not started it. I've not recorded any for it. I know what I want to do, but I've just not actually done any of it yet. So that's kind of going to be the other one, but they're going to run kind of side by side to each other, along with other lots, other builds, other worlds, things like that. I'm not going to say, right, all of my builds are going to be for this or for that. I want to kind of keep it very open and kind of give myself that break, that where I can go, you know what, I'm not necessarily tired of it, but I just need to take a little step back for a little while. And I think that's something that I've not done in the past, and I very much regretted it. So for me, I think having that kind of break is always very important, and especially because we are very close to coming to the end of our zoo, the Red Lane Zoo in Planet Zoo. I don't really know what to do in terms of content to kind of fill that void. So my initial thought was that we're just going to basically weekly do some more Sims builds, which kind of means it's all going to be Sims builds. And I feel like that may get a little bit difficult, as I was saying, with trying to kind of keep it all going, trying to keep my energy going, trying to not get builder's block, and kind of bogged down a little bit, which is something I have felt in the past, especially when I was streaming. I do like that little break of playing different games on here, just to kind of mix it up so that I can change what I am sort of doing from week to week. It's very good for me, and I think it's quite good in terms of my channel as well. Obviously, let me know down below what you're looking forward to the most, if you are interested in more kind of medieval history kind of builds, if you're wanting some newer kind of modern kind of builds, what you want to see, what you don't want to see is also really important, in terms of kind of letting me know sort of what you're liking, what you're not, what you're thinking in here. But whilst I have been waffling away for the last 5 minutes, we have been building the outside of this build, and as you can see, it is starting to take shape. Now, I do have to tell you here, this took forever. So whilst this has only been like 6 minutes in recording, well, in editing, this probably took about 5, maybe 6 hours just to get to this point. I went through so many changes on this build. So first of all, the lot changed, the terrain changed, the whole concept art that I had for this build, that changed. The colour scheme changed about 4 or 5 times. The roofing changed, it shrunk. Yeah, when I say this was a fun build, it took forever. And yet, yeah, here we are. So you might see some things that are not quite right, and they get changed out. So don't worry, you can sort of see here, I am going for another colour change because I'm not too happy with how it's all looking. And I wanted the kind of the wooden effects of like the Tudor aspects of it, like the wooden sort of battens, to actually kind of come through as well. And I don't think they all really did when it came to the stonework and things like that we have in this build. So I struggled a little bit, I've got to be honest. But as I say, this was a little bit of a labour of love. So this was actually pre-recorded before all of the kits came out, and this was really the reason why the last one you had an apartment, because this was being worked on, and I kind of have a set amount of time in which I have to record, and that's fine until it doesn't go right. It didn't go right, and it took a little bit longer than what I was hoping for, and so yeah, you kind of had a little bit of a mix for that one, but we got here in the end, and you can sort of see now I am adding in some windows, I'm adding in doors, this is where this build really starts to come together, and I think it actually works now. I think this is something where in all of the other iterations of this build, I didn't get to this point, and I think had I pushed through, we might have had a build earlier. But you know, this is me we're talking to. So we are using a lot of, obviously, the Castle Estate. We are also using a lot of Get Together, which is a pack I absolutely love, but I feel like it's been kind of trumped by all of like the other packs that we've had recently. So obviously with the sort of wooden cladding that we're using, it works in here really, really well as well. And then obviously the new Life and Death, that worked brilliantly in here. These windows, I absolutely love them. Yeah, and then obviously using lots of ivy, making this look very old and not necessarily run down, because it certainly isn't. And this is another expensive build. Shocker, it's me. Hello. But it just makes it feel that little bit more old. I don't know what that is about creeping ivy. It just makes it feel old to me. You can also see here I am having a bit of an issue, and you may have slightly seen it earlier on when I was placing the columns on certain areas. They don't clip to the outside of buildings anymore. Some do, some don't, and it was a bit problematic. To put it mildly, I had to use a little bit of trickery to kind of get those in, but as usual I show you a lot of the front of the build. Obviously I have windowed everywhere, I have made sure that those sorts of things are all in place as well. And now we're using some of the cottage living ivy. This again is gorgeous. Unfortunately, this one isn't affected by seasons, so in some of the screenshots you'll see at the end it doesn't change its like colour, which is slightly annoying because the debug ivy does. This one doesn't, so it's kind of a bit of a mix of the two. But I was kind of thinking, one's evergreen, one's always going to be this sort of green, whilst the other one is, it maybe changes and it dies down, and maybe they kind of spray it, maybe they try to preserve the building, something like that in here. But these two towers are a bit of a labour of love. I love the concept of round walls. The execution and the kind of work that the team have done on them is so frustrating because they don't really work. But I've had that rant before and I will not have it again. So we are now working on some of the roof decorations in here. So going through all of the live edit objects, I came across these they're like little fence posts, but they're really small, and I thought they would be perfect for like topping off the sort of along this sort of seam in the roof in here. And so I wanted to kind of get that in here, and it was proving a little bit tricky because obviously they are live edit objects, so they had to basically be tooled into place. So if anyone doesn't know, I use basically 3 mods, tool, Bear Build Buy, and the red shelf. That is literally everything I have in my game. I don't use any reshades or anything at all in terms of that. So basically what you are seeing is in fact in the game. The only ones that you obviously have to download are those 3 mods, but you don't need to have them to download this build off of the gallery. All of that is perfectly fine in here. But this is the floor plan, so you can sort of see initially I'm looking at this and I'm going, I do not know what to do with this build. How do I make this make sense? In the end we get there, and I think it actually works out really well in terms of sort of the concept. Again, I did go through a bit of a mess with the colour scheme. I wanted quite a lot of dark woods to kind of come through, but then we have got a lot of the sort of cream stone on the outside, so I kind of thought that beige kind of colour would work really well. I tried it here on the marble floor. It's okay. I'm not happy with it. I'm not 100%, but I will let you be the judge. Let me know down in the comments what you think, if you are liking it, if you are not. My kind of rationale when it came to doing the interior, at the beginning I was like, right, we're going to do a really old, we're going to do a rundown, we're going to do like a very old medieval castle. And then I got into the interior and I was like, I don't know how to do a medieval build in game. We have a lot of old furniture pieces and like furniture that would fit, but it's like pristine, it's clean, it's perfect, it's not old furniture. So well, it is old furniture, but it's perfect, kind of rich, expensive furniture, not something that you would necessarily find in here. So I thought, well, maybe like a sort of a millionaire or somebody like a businessman or kind of somebody who has lots of money has bought this place and they've kept the outside, and maybe they're pretending it's all run down, and that kind of rationale that they're like hiding their wealth here, but yet all of the interior is gorgeous. That's kind of what I was thinking kind of in my head. So outside is kind of very old, but the inside they've done a lot of work, some of it sympathetic, some of it maybe not so, in here as to what the whole place sort of looks like. But yeah, that's my thinking anyway. Let me know if I pull it off in here. But this is now the kind of library come office space come kind of hobby room in here, using a lot of the sort of library kind of these big huge bookcases in here, and I really wanted this sort of turret here at the back to have the desk. Now you might have noticed when I was doing the floor plan that some of the ivy actually sticks through. I did try to change that and kind of hide it a little bit more in between walls. Some of it does still stick through, but most of it is hidden away in there. Now, lighting in these ones, lighting in sort of turrets can always be a little bit iffy. And you sort of see here between the two columns. That's what I'm talking about. The round rooms are great. They don't really work. So, yeah. Anyway, this is the back turret. The front one has a half bathroom in it. So it has a toilet and a sink. It's very nice, it's very plush. And there's kind of like this little sort of hallway that leads between these two rooms. I figured that this maybe is somewhere there they would maybe have guests coming through, and it's just off the main entranceway, and you can have somebody sort of sitting there waiting for like an appointment, or maybe it's somebody who's like a bodyguard or something like that who sort of sits out there and just make sure that the person that they are with is protected and looked after, something kind of like that. That's what I was thinking. And then obviously they have this kind of private little bathroom where if they do need to nip to the loo whilst working, it's not too far away. And I thought the turret in there made perfect sense for all of them. And I wanted this little tray. This tray is not categorised, it turns out. I spent forever trying to find that tray. You know, like when you have something in your head and you know you have it in your head and you know you're right, but you just can't find it? That tray. It took forever, but eventually I found it. And we got there in the end, but now we're moving over into the dining room. So you have to access the kitchen via this dining room, so it goes through that little door in there. Again, I love the kitchen. The interior of this, I think when I settled on my idea, it really worked. It was just kind of settling on the colour scheme, on the idea, and then I was okay with it. So you can sort of see in here, we again pulling in lots of these sorts of creams and sort of very soft little oranges coming through. And then I decide, no, we're going green. So we've gone for green dining room in here. We do end up changing the rug, I believe, to fit a little bit more in with the aesthetic, but getting in some huge big portraits of here. Maybe they are like the owners, or maybe they're like ancestors who maybe built or created this home, and they wanted them to be kind of immortalized on some big sort of artwork. I don't necessarily know. This is actually a 3-bedroom house, all of which are double bedrooms. I didn't set out to say this was a family home, or this was for any particular kind of person. I had no idea when I was building this, and especially up in the bedrooms, you can sort of see I didn't know who was going in here. So it was quite fun in the fact that I didn't have that idea in my head. I wasn't personalising it to any particular family that I'd like already created, but it made it quite difficult in terms of, well, how do I clutter? How do I make this space feel lived in and personalised? What I kind of settled on is like an older kind of sim or maybe somebody who has more than one home, and this is kind of like the weekend retreat. This is like the little bolt hole that they go to at the end of the week, where maybe they do maybe a little bit of entertaining here, but not too much. Maybe this is like the family escape kind of down sort of hidden away retreat in here. At least that's kind of what I was thinking in my head. But yeah, so I kind of wanted a little bit more family home, but also knowing this is an incredibly expensive house and a very rich person's house in here as well. Now, this kitchen was a bit of a nightmare. I feel like I say that a lot. Yeah, not to repeat myself, but yeah, I had, because the windows, the pop outs, the shape of it just was a bit like, okay, this is great. How do I do this? So yeah, I sat here before we even started this. I sat for probably about 10-15 minutes trying to come up with an idea of what I wanted this to look like. And we went for this really white kind of kitchen. It's actually from Vampires, which I kind of forget that that pack comes with the kitchen. But yet it is, it's a gorgeous kitchen. It's a very nice kind of old kind of style kitchen in here. And voila, we are now in a position where we are getting all of the clutter into place. So you have this whole big sort of wall of cabinets over on this side. I kind of wanted to pretend that you had like a built-in fridge freezer. I've tried to do those in game several times and they never actually work for me. I know some people can do them, and I know there is like a little cheat or a little way to get them to work. I cannot figure out what it is. I've tried building basements and moving them up, they still don't work. I've tried tooling things into place, it still doesn't work. So in the end, you've kind of got this whole big wall of cabinets, and then you've kind of got like a little kind of pantry area, I guess is probably the right way. There you can go in there to actually get your food. It's in like a separate little cupboard out the way, but yet is still accessible to you in there. And now we are kind of just cluttering all of this up, so using lots of bits and pieces, but I am purposely leaving space, like counter space and things like that, for each Sims to cook on or prepare food or things like that. So they can definitely do all of that in there. And then I kind of wanted them to have like a big wine kind of cellar, kind of, at least the idea that they have lots of that. So there is some crates of sort of nectar just laying here. Maybe they're getting ready for a party, or maybe they've had a party and they're just the leftovers, something kind of like that, and that's why they're just loose in there. And I do also place, I think, another one in the little pantry as well, because I did double fridge it, but it didn't quite work in terms of looking right, so in the end I just changed that out into here. But now we're on to the living room. This I've kind of split up into two. So we have this big fireplace, and I looked at the room and I was like, where can we get this in? And then obviously I realised I have actually placed a chimney rest, so we kind of need to use that. So luckily enough I have space for that here, and then I've got some bookshelves that are just kind of pressed into a little gap, little sort of nook that we have in here, and I think that works out really well. So you can kind of sit down here, you can read a book, you can snuggle by the fire, you can kind of do any of that in there, just have a nice little chat by the fire. I think that would be a perfect kind of place to do all of that in here. And then these little pop outs here were so frustrating, because I was like, oh, okay, we can get a bar in, we can do, yeah, no, they don't work. So in the end I got 3 statues. We got the 2 fairies and then this lady statue, again from Vampires, and I've placed them in there, and then I've just rotated the fairies so they're kind of looking inwards. I thought that was a nice little touch, especially because it shows them off a little bit more, whereas if they were all facing forwards it wouldn't really quite do it for me. It just didn't look right. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking in terms of that. And now we have the big sort of main seating area. Now you might have noticed I have placed no curtains in this build whatsoever. That is deliberate. So all of these windows are custom placed and they are all over the place. They look like they're uniformed, but they're not. So I figured at this point it would probably be best not to put curtains in, and then I probably actually forgot all about them until it came to doing the screenshots right at the very end, and then thought, yeah, I got curtains to add in. And so I have placed all of those in, kind of retrofitted them all into place, and then we are now just adding some blue kind of to the colour scheme in here as well. As I say, I really didn't know what to do with the colour scheme. I wanted lots of beige, but I didn't really know what else to bring it in. So there is a lots of beige, but there's also lots of different pops here and there that I think work really, really nicely. And in the end we get a couple of pieces of artwork, and now we are up onto the stairs and we are working on this space here. So this actually has no windows in it, and that made it so that I couldn't really have like a bedroom or anything in here. And I went through so many iterations of bookshelves because I thought the people that lived here are very much kind of, they like their books, they like kind of like very well educated individuals. They are somebody who maybe travels a lot, and they've got different like talk sort of books on different countries, different religions, different cultures, and they kind of have them all in this little upstairs little oasis, maybe away from the prying eyes of maybe any like visitors that you would have. And then I thought, let's have a nice antique kind of old chess set up here as well. And yeah, that's at least what I was thinking when we were doing that. A little bit more artwork. It's a very simple kind of space, but I feel like it works really well for what I wanted to kind of get out of this little space. It couldn't be used for like a bedroom or anything like that, so really the like a hobby room was really the only sort of option I had. What would you have done with the space? Let me know in the comments. Would you have made it a bedroom? Maybe you would change the roof. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But now we're gonna move on to this side. So again, because of the chimney breast, I wanted another fireplace. So obviously in medieval times they wouldn't have had like radiators and central heating and things like that, so they would very much rely on fireplaces, and I didn't want to have too many fireplaces throughout this whole build. So I have one downstairs in the living room and one up here in the hallway, kind of above each other, but that would like be enough heat that you don't need them in any of the kind of bedrooms or anything like that. I also didn't place any radiators or any kind of light switches. I felt like, yes, obviously we have power and we have electricity running through this build, but I didn't want to make it so obvious that that was kind of in here. So I haven't placed any of those. I'm not sure. I think realistic gameplay wise, it would be quite difficult to kind of place those things in nowadays without kind of destroying the house in the meantime. And so I thought it would be best to not try and do that. So of the 3 bedrooms, this one, we'll call it the green room. I wanted different colours for all the different sort of built bedrooms. All of them are ensuite as well. The ensuites are basically identical. I literally just copied and pasted, not the entire room because the layout is slightly different, but all of the items and things like that. I don't actually show you any bathrooms. Shocker, this is me. I don't particularly like building bathrooms. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about bathrooms. I'm just not a great lover of them. I feel like, especially with a build like this where I've got 3 of them and they're identical, they're just very the same, and it just doesn't feel right to me. So I don't tend to show them in here. There's something I do right at the last minute, or unless it's like a specialist build or like an apartment or something where it's quite small, then I would just like, I've got to do it, fine, okay, whatever sort of thing. I don't know. there's just something about bathrooms that I'm not particularly a lover of in game in here. But yes, this is a very red bedroom. So we've got red walls and this bed is absolutely gorgeous. My problem, the swatches of the wood don't really match too well. So although I'm using items from the same pack, there's not really, like, the bedside cabinets aren't quite right. And then obviously using items from other packs, yeah, no, they don't match either. So yeah, and then I ended up using a couple of pieces from the Crystal Creations, and these little shelf pieces here were gorgeous, and I really wanted to get them in, but I didn't know what to place on them at first, and in the end I placed some necklaces, and I thought maybe they're like heirlooms, maybe they're expensive, maybe they're getting ready for a ball or a party or something, and they kind of want to have all of this sort of jewellery to hand, but yet still away if they've got maybe like children or little people, or they just want it sort of high up out the way and safe in there. That's kind of my thinking of why they're there, and also I just needed something to go on the wall. It's really as simple as that. I need something to go on the wall, and I don't actually clutter too much. I think that's probably the bedroom that I cluttered the most. This room in here, we'll call this the blue room. It changes colour a few times, but it's very much blue and kind of beige, and I struggled. This is the last room we do in this build, and this actually is in the square turret. So originally this was going to be for like a teenager, and they were going to have like a ladder to get up to maybe kind of a secret kind of den, maybe something that maybe the parents don't know about. In the end, I was just like, I don't know what to do with this space. At this point, I kind of given up on having like a family in this build. I didn't particularly want to do that, so I just kind of did it for 3 kind of generic bedrooms. Maybe these are kind of people who have adult friends over, they maybe don't have any children, or their children are fully grown, or something kind of along those lines. That's what I was thinking in my head, at least. Anyway, but as we are coming up to the end of this video, if you have enjoyed it, then please give it a big thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my channel. And if you have any ideas, any suggestions for future builds, maybe you have an idea that you think could work, or maybe a lot or a challenge that you would like me to do, let me know. But I'll see you soon. Alright, bye everyone!